Hey guys, it's Jason with the Board Game Mechanics, and today we're going to take a look at a new abstract game from the Grand Gamers Guild called Gorinto. Gorinto is a 2 to 4 player game from Grand Gamers Guild, like I already said, and that's a whole lot of G's. But essentially what you're doing in this game is you are trying to collect different elements. So earth, fire, wind, water, and the void. Ooh. And these elements are going to allow you to earn more wisdom in that type of element, which is essentially going to let you collect more tiles of other elements when you're moving that certain element onto this grid on the board. This is an abstract game, not something that I normally play, but this one has an interesting table appeal and a pretty interesting mechanism of play. So that's enough talking about it. Let's go down to the table, see how it plays. All right, so here's a game of Gorinto, all set up for 2 players. Setup's pretty easy. You're going to give each player a player board. It's going to have their color. So this is brown. But in this game, it's going to have a black disc because this is a prototype and it didn't come with brown. You're going to give first player this awesome metal token, metal coin. And then you're going to put the season marker here on the first space of the season track. You're going to flip 2 element cards to tell you which elements are going to be worth 2 points. So in this case, it is fire and the void, which is purple, so red and purple. Then you're going to have 2 gold cards, which look something like this, that you're going to score at the end of every round. So the elements are at the end of the game, the gold cards are at the end of every round. And this one says, for each player that has the tallest stack or players, you get 3 points. So at the end of the round, whoever has the tallest stack of all 5 elements will get 3 points. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and play. Playing is pretty easy. On your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these outer 10 tiles, and you're going to move it on to the pyramid. There are different layouts, but I'm using the peak, I think is what it's called. And based on the element is the action that you can take. So this purple one can take a tile from each of the corners when it's on the board. So when it gets in the board, it takes like an X pattern of tiles up to however many you're allowed to take, which I'll get into. The wind is going to let you take adjacent tiles, left, right, top and bottom. The water is going to let you take 2 tiles this way, 2 tiles this way. And the fire is going to let you take 2 tiles this way, 2 tiles this way, as many as you're allowed to take. You can't just take 4 at the beginning. And then earth is going to let you look at the stack, and based on how many you're allowed to take, you can go in that stack and take up to 4 tiles based on how many you're allowed to take. And you can notice on this board, there's a tile that has a dragon on it, which is right there. That's a wild. If you use that from the side, it's going to function as any element that you want. And if you collect it, it can go on any space on your board based on that. All right, so how we know how many we're allowed to, how many elements we're allowed to collect is based on number of tiles on your board plus 1. So we're all starting out with 0. So right now, when we take an action, we're allowed to collect 1 tile. So let's go ahead and take an action. So this player's first, that'll be me. So the black player's going first. It says brown, but it's black. Let's see, I want to try to get some fire and some void. So let's see, what can I do to get a fire or a void? I'm going to take this one, put it here. So I can take the void, the water, the fire, or the dragon. And I actually want to take the dragon because the dragon's cool. So I'm going to take the dragon, and then I'm going to put it, because I want fire and void, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on the void. And that's my turn. There's a little different rule for a 2-player setup, which we'll get to after this player's next turn. So then this player's going to go. They're allowed to collect 1 tile based on whatever element that they pick. So they want to get a dragon as well. So they're going to take this earth, and they're going to come down here to this stack. So what they can do is they can look in this stack, and they can take one of these tiles. This one's on top, so just remember that. And they're going to take the dragon. So they take the dragon, put this here, then they're going to put earth on top of that stack, and they want to start collecting fire. All right, so there's a rule with collecting. You don't ever collect the tile that you move onto the grid And you can never collect 2 tiles from the same stack. So you can only ever take 1 tile from a stack, or only from the same stack once. So the earth will let you dig into the stack, but you can't free up a tile and then use the ability again to free up another tile. That's it. All right, so now back to this turn, this player's turn. Let's see, earth can get them, void will let them collect 2. So let's use some void. So they're going to go here. So they can collect fire, water, water, and void. They have to collect 2. If you can collect however many you're allowed, you have to. But if you can't collect those, then you can take whatever you can collect. So I have 1 tile on my void plus 1, so that lets me collect 2. So I'm going to collect fire. And then I'm going to collect, I need void, so let's go ahead and grab this void right here. All right, so then in a 2-player game, after the first turn where each player takes a turn, then after every player's turn, the player who took the turn is going to discard one of the outside tiles. So in this case, I'm going to get rid of this fire because it's in like the best spot ever. So then it's the player's turn. And they're going to use fire because they can collect a couple things. So they want to go here. They don't want to just get water. They're going to go here. So they can collect 2 things. So they're going to collect the fire and the dragon. You can collect 2 on this side, up to 2 on this side, but since I put it there, I can only collect these 2 or that one. So I'm going to collect both of these. So I have a fire. I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the void. And they get to get rid of 1, so they're going to get rid of the earth. Then back to this player. Oh man, I'd like to get some water up in here. Yeah, let's do this. So I'm going to go here. So I have 2 voids, I can collect 3 tiles, but because I can only collect this fire and this water, because there isn't anything over here for me to collect, I'm going to have to collect the fire and the water. It's kind of hard to get the tiles, but you can work it. All right, so I got a water, I got a fire, and then I will get rid of this one. So now it's this player's turn. They can only use a void. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to get at most 2 tiles because they can collect 2, but because they're on the outside, the most they can collect anyway is 2. So let's go here, and they're going to collect this earth and this wind. All right, and then they discard this, and that's the end of the round. So I'm only going to play through a round, and then we'll simulate the in-game scoring. So at the end of the round, what you're going to do is you're going to score both of the goals based on whoever gets those points. So for each element, the player or players with the highest stacks, at least 1 tile, gets 3 points. So this player has 2 on the void, so black will get 3 points. This player has 1 on wind. This player has 0 on wind, so they'll get 3 points. This player has 2 on fire. This player has 2 on fire, so they each get 3 points. This player has 1 water, so they will get 3 points. And this player has 1 earth, so they will get 3 points. All right, now this one's a little trickier. So let's look at this guy. Imagine your stacks lined up from shortest to tallest, including stacks of 0. Score each stack that is a different height than the stack in the middle. All right, so that's tricky. So, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at our stacks. This player has a height of 2, the least of 0. So they're going to score every stack that is a different height than 1, because 1 would be in the middle. So they would score both of these stacks. 1 tile is 1 point, so they get 4 points. And then over here, their middle is 1, because they have a 0 and a 2. So they only have 1 stack that's 2, 3 of them that are in the middle. So they're going to score 2 points for that stack of fire. All right, and then you're going to determine who goes first based on whoever has the lowest. So now the yellow player will be first. You're going to move this marker, and then you're going to refill all the outside edges. You're going to play through it again. You're going to do that 2 more times, score all these, 3 more times, score all the in-goal cards. Then at the end of the game, you're going to count up 2 points for every fire that you have, 2 points for every void. So if this was the end of the game, this player would have 8 points. And then yellow would have 6 points. and that would be how the game would end. So black would have been the winner. I mean, yes, they would have higher points than that, but that's the gist of how you play this game. You saw a round, you saw in-game scoring, and that's about it. So let's go up to the top, see what we think about it. All right, so that was Gorinto. First off, I'm going to say everything that you saw in the video was prototype components. So the tiles, they had stickers on them. Some of the point discs didn't match the colors, the player colors on the player boards. The little season tracker was 3D printed. It's probably going to look nicer than that. I don't know. All I have to talk about from components and production wise is what I have. That being said, I'm going to break down the gameplay for you, and that's how I'm going to judge this game, because when it's a prototype, it's not fair to judge it on those other things. So this is an abstract game. I don't play a ton of those, but I really enjoy this one. This is a pretty light and straightforward abstract game where you're kind of just collecting sets of different elements to meet the in-game goal. So there's those 2 in-game goals, and then there are the 2 goals for the elements that you're trying to collect that game. So you're trying to focus on those elements that are worth 2 points each, but you're also trying to make sure you don't ignore the end of round goals, because those score 4 times. So it's a nice balance of, do I want to focus on the short term, or do I want to play the long game and just get a pile of these different elements to score at the end? So I enjoy that. The game is pretty straightforward. You're taking a tile from the path, I think is what it's called, around the outside, and you're moving it into the grid. And based on what the element is of that tile and where you put it, it's going to determine how many tiles you can get. Well, and based on how many tiles you have on your player board, it's going to determine how many of those tiles you can pick up. So each element is going to let you take a maximum of 4 tiles, usually. But if you don't have enough knowledge or wisdom in that element, then you're not going to be able to pick up that many. And then each element has a different path. So like the wind has direct adjacency, so top, bottom, left, right. The void has the corners. I think fire is the column and water is the row, something like that. And then earth, you can dig through all the tiles under and collect as many as you're allowed to take. It's really fun, really simple, but man, I had a good time. So I only played this at 2, and I think that's the way that I would play this game if I had my druthers. In a 2-player game, I think we got 4 turns each round, so we ended up taking 16 turns. And I looked at the board after we were done playing a couple times and noticed that if you play a 4-player game, 3 people are going to get 3 turns, 2 people are going to get 2 turns. So over the course of the game, you're going to get 8 turns to collect as many tiles as you can. So I just feel like the points won't be as high. You're not going to have as much stuff to do. There's going to be more downtime because there is quite a bit of thinking on other players' turns. So I haven't played it at 3, I haven't played it at 4. But I really, really, really enjoyed it too. And my wife said the same thing because I played it with her. She said she thinks that this will be a game that should only be played at 2. Which is usually the case with abstract games. They just seem to fire off better at 2. But it's also good to have games that can play more. Because I know Santorini comes to mind. I think you can play that at 3 players or 4 players. But pretty much everybody plays it at 2. So that's neither here nor there. If you want to play it at 4, fine. You'll still have a good time. But you're going to play more of the game if you play it at 2. So I don't have a ton of other stuff to say about this game. It's fun, it's quick, it's easy to teach. The rule book is just on a Word doc, but it's laid out really well. It was missing the instructions on what the dragon tiles were, the wild tiles, but small. I mean, again, it's prototype. So everything you need to play this game is easy, laid out well, and you will be able to read it, pick it up, and have a good time. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a BGM accepted rating. I'll give it, let's see, let's do 7.5 out of 10. So that'll be about a 3.75 out of 5 on our wrench rating scale. So I like it. This is probably get mailed on to another reviewer, but maybe if I sweet talk the publisher, they'll send me a nice copy of this when it's all done. So it's going to be hitting Kickstarter here shortly. I will put a link to the Kickstarter page in the video description once it's live, because can't put that up until it's live. And then if you want to go throw some support behind this game, if it looks like your type of game, then go to Kickstarter. I'm Jason with the Board Game Mechanics. That was my review of Gorinto. And as always, keep gaming.